The camera opens to a dimly lit alley in Manila, where rain drips from rusted tin roofs. Children run barefoot through puddles, laughing despite the mud that covers their feet. In one corner, under a small piece of plastic stretched between two poles, sits a thin boy of about 12. His clothes are torn, his hair messy, his eyes tired but alive with dreams. His name is Carlo. Carlo hums softly to himself, the sound barely audible over the rain. It's a song he's made up, words he doesn't even know he's saying. His voice carries something pure, something deep, something that could make anyone stop and listen if only the world would pause long enough to hear. A man walks by, a street vendor with a heavy cart of roasted corn. He pauses for a second, listening to the melody. "You've got a nice voice, kid," he says with a smile. Carlo smiles shyly and looks down, embarrassed. "Salamat po," he whispers, his voice almost lost to the rain. The vendor pushes his cart away, and Carlo continues singing softly. He sings not for fame, not for attention, but to forget his hunger. To forget that he hasn't eaten since yesterday. To forget that his mother has been sick for weeks and that their shack leaks every time it rains. But that small melody, carried by the night air, travels further than he could ever imagine. This is a story that will melt your heart. A story about hope, music, and the power of dreams. You're watching Spread the Smile, where true stories of kindness and courage come to life. The next morning, Carlo wakes up to the smell of the sea. His shack is just a few meters away from the shore. The city has already come alive, vendors shouting, jeepneys honking, fishermen hauling their nets. Carlo's mother coughs softly on her mat. "Nene, are you okay?" he asks. She forces a smile. "Just a little weak, Anik. Don't worry about me. Go sell your sampaguita." He nods and grabs a small basket of white flowers. Each garland sells for just 5 pesos, but for Carlo, every coin means survival. He walks barefoot along the busy road, offering his flowers to strangers stuck in traffic. Some smile and buy, most ignore him. By noon, the sun burns above him, his shirt soaked in sweat. He wipes his forehead and hums again. His voice carries over the noise of the city, clear and warm, like the sound of hope in the middle of chaos. Unknowingly, a young woman sitting in a car hears him sing. She lowers her window, listening closely. "That voice," she murmurs. Her name is Liza, a producer for a local TV talent show. "Hey kid," she calls. "What's your name?" Carlo freezes, clutching his basket. "Carlo Po," he answers nervously. "Would you like to sing for me?" she asks. He hesitates. I don't know any songs." "Then sing what you were just singing." Carlo looks around, unsure, but then slowly starts singing again, the same tune he hums every day. It's raw, imperfect, but filled with emotion. His voice trembles at first, but as he continues, something happens. Liza feels tears welling in her eyes. The song has no lyrics, yet somehow tells the story of every poor child she's ever seen on those same streets. When he finishes, she smiles. "Carlo, how would you like to audition for a show?" "A show?" His eyes widen. "Like on TV? Yes. You have a gift. The world needs to hear you." He shakes his head quickly. "No Po, I can't. I don't have clothes for that. And I'm just a street boy." But she insists. She gives him a small card and tells him to come to the studio the next day. Carlo stares at the card for a long time after she leaves. His heart beats fast. Could this really happen? That night, he runs home, breathless. "Nene, a lady asked me to sing on TV." His mother sits up slowly, eyes tired but full of light. "Oh, Anik, that's wonderful." She touches his cheek gently. "Maybe this is your chance." They spend the evening washing his one clean shirt, patching a hole in his shorts. His mother hums as she sews, her voice weak but happy. For the first time in a long while, there's laughter in their tiny home. The next morning, Carlo walks nervously to the studio. He clutches the card tightly. The guards almost stop him until Liza appears and waves him in. Inside, bright lights and cameras surround him. Other contestants wait, dressed neatly, some with parents, others with coaches. Carlo feels out of place. He lowers his head and sits quietly. When it's finally his turn, he steps onto the stage. The judges look at him curiously. "What's your name?" one of them asks. "Carlo Po." "Where are you from?" "From the slums of Tondo, Manila," he says softly. The audience murmurs. The judge smiles gently. "And what will you sing for us today?" "I don't know the song's name, I just made it." The judges exchange looks. An original song. He nods. All right, Carlo, whenever you're ready. Carlo takes a deep breath. For a moment, the entire room feels silent. He closes his eyes and begins to sing. The first note is shaky, but then his voice grows stronger, more confident. It's pure, full of pain, but also full of hope. Every word he improvises comes from his heart, about his mother, about hunger, about never giving up. The crowd listens in awe. By the time he reaches the last note, there's not a single dry eye in the audience. One of the judges wipes her tears. That was beautiful, she whispers. The clip of his audition goes viral overnight. Within 24 hours, millions have seen the barefoot boy from the slums singing with the voice of an angel. TV shows replay his performance, news outlets call him the miracle boy of Tondo, and social media floods with comments of support. Among the people who see the clip is Simon Cowell himself. He shares the video on his page with the caption, "This boy reminded me what true talent means." Weeks pass, and Carlo becomes a national sensation. Donations pour in to help his mother's medical treatment. But despite the sudden fame, Carlo stays humble. He still sells flowers sometimes, saying it reminds him where he came from. One day, a call comes from London. It's the producers of Britain's Got Talent. They want Carlo to perform as a special guest. Liza can hardly believe it. She rushes to tell him, "Carlo, you're going to the UK." Carlo stares at her, speechless. "The UK, me, yes, you. Simon Cowell himself asked for you." His mother weeps tears of joy when she hears the news. "You're making your dreams come true, Anik," she says, hugging him tightly. "Promise me one thing, never forget where you came from." "I promise, Nene." The day of departure arrives. For the first time in his life, Carlo boards a plane. He looks out the window in wonder as the clouds roll by beneath him. "It's like heaven," he whispers. When he arrives in London, everything feels surreal. The cold air, the tall buildings, the crowds. The producers welcome him warmly and tell him he'll sing in front of the judges tomorrow. That night, he can't sleep. He thinks about his mother back home, watching him through a borrowed TV. He closes his eyes and prays silently, "Please, Lord, let me make her proud." The next evening, he walks onto the grand stage of Britain's Got Talent. The audience claps softly, curious about the small Filipino boy who's traveled across the world to sing. Simon Cowell looks at him with that familiar raised eyebrow. "Hello, young man, what's your name?" "Carlo, sir." "Where are you from?" "From the Philippines." Simon smiles. "And what will you be singing tonight?" Carlo hesitates. "A song I wrote, for my mother." The audience goes silent. Simon nods. "All right, Carlo, the stage is yours." The lights dim. A single spotlight shines on him. The piano starts softly. Carlo closes his eyes, takes a breath, and begins. His voice, fragile yet powerful, fills the theater. Every note carries emotion too real to ignore, his pain, his gratitude, his love. He sings about sleeping hungry, about his mother's gentle hands, about dreams that felt impossible. The crowd listens, frozen. By the chorus, people are wiping tears. Even Simon Cowell, known for his tough exterior, leans forward, eyes glistening. When Carlo hits the final note, the theater erupts in applause. People stand, cheering and crying. Simon presses the golden buzzer. Gold confetti rains down as Carlo covers his face in disbelief. Tears stream down his cheeks. Simon walks up to the stage. "Carlo," he says, "I've been doing this for years, and I don't think I've ever felt something this real. You reminded me why we started this show, to find talent that touches hearts. You're one of a kind." Carlo can't speak. He just nods, overwhelmed. The crowd chants his name, "Carlo, Carlo," as the confetti keeps falling. Back home, his mother watches on a small television in their slum. She cries uncontrollably, clutching her chest. Neighbors gather around, cheering. "That's our boy," someone shouts. A few weeks later, Carlo returns to the Philippines. Reporters and fans greet him at the airport, but he only wants to see one person. He runs home, golden buzzer trophy in hand. His mother opens the door, weak but smiling. "You did it, Anik," she whispers. "You did it." He hugs her tightly. "No, Nene, we did it." Soon, foundations offer to build them a small house. A local hospital treats his mother for free. Carlo starts attending school again, and music companies offer him contracts, but he chooses to keep singing for free in charity events, saying, "I want to help kids like me." Months pass. One day, Simon Cowell visits the Philippines for a charity event. He surprises Carlo by visiting his new home. Carlo runs to greet him, barefoot as always. "Mr. Simon," he shouts. Simon smiles warmly. "I told you I'd come see where you started." He looks around the neighborhood, still rough, but now filled with hope. "You've changed lives, Carlo." Carlo smiles shyly. "You changed mine, sir." They sit on a bench outside the small house. Carlo picks up a guitar someone had donated and begins to sing softly. This time, Simon joins in clapping along, surrounded by smiling neighbors and laughing children. The cameras capture the beautiful moment, the world-famous judge and the once poor Filipino boy sharing music among the people who first heard him sing. In the following months, Carlo's story inspires documentaries, news features, and songs. But he never lets fame change him. Every weekend, he returns to the slums, giving free singing lessons to kids who once sold flowers like he did. "If I can sing my way out of hunger," he tells them, "so can you." He creates a small foundation called Voices of Hope, aimed at supporting underprivileged children with musical talent. The first batch includes 10 kids from different poor areas across the country. Together, they perform in local events, spreading positivity and dreams. One evening, during a live charity concert, Carlo takes the stage again. The crowd cheers as he walks up with confidence. "Tonight," he says into the microphone, "I'm not singing for fame. I'm singing for every child who ever felt invisible." He begins a new song titled, "Hear Me." It's about how every child has a story worth listening to. The crowd waves their lights in the air, singing along. By the end of the performance, even the toughest hearts in the audience are moved to tears. The video trends worldwide again. Comments flood in from every corner of the world, people thanking him for reminding them of kindness, of faith, of perseverance. Months later, during an international award ceremony, Carlo receives the Young Humanitarian Artist of the Year award. Standing on stage in his simple barong, he delivers a short speech. "I was once a boy who sang on the streets for coins. Now I sing for hope. Never stop believing, because miracles are real when your heart stays humble." The entire audience gives him a standing ovation. Among them sits Simon Cowell, clapping proudly, tears visible in his eyes once again. Carlo continues to travel, perform, and support causes for children. But no matter how far he goes, he always carries a small garland of sampaguita flowers in his pocket, a reminder of where his journey began. Years later, he returns to the same alley where he used to sing as a boy. The slum looks different now, cleaner, brighter. Kids run around, laughing, singing songs they learned from him. He sits quietly, listening. A street vendor passes by, the same man who once told him he had a nice voice. The man stops, stares, and laughs. "Carlo, is that really you?" Carlo smiles. "Yes, Tito, I never forgot your words." The man pats his shoulder. "I knew you'd go far, kid." Carlo looks up at the sky, where the same clouds drift lazily as they did years ago. "I didn't do it alone," he whispers. "The world heard me because people believed." That night, he performs one last small concert in his old neighborhood. There's no stage, no lights, just a crowd of neighbors, children, and his mother sitting proudly in the front. As he sings, his voice blends with the laughter and the wind. When he finishes, there's silence, then thunderous applause. His mother stands, tears falling freely, and says, "My son, you've made the world smile." He hugs her tightly as the crowd chants his name again. "Carlo, Carlo." Far away, Simon Cowell watches the livestream on his phone, smiling. "Still makes me cry," he says softly. Carlo's story becomes a legend, a symbol of hope not just in the Philippines, but around the world. Schools teach his journey as an example of faith and humility. He keeps singing, year after year, never forgetting the slum where it all began, never forgetting the woman who believed in him first, and never forgetting that the most beautiful music is born not from comfort, but from struggle and love. Even as his fame grows, Carlo chooses to remain simple. He says in an interview, "Music saved my life. But love gave it meaning. Without my mother, without those who listened, I'd still be that boy under the rain." And that's how the poor Filipino boy who once sang barefoot in the streets ended up touching millions of hearts across the globe, proving that greatness doesn't come from wealth or privilege, it comes from the courage to dream, even when the world tells you not to. When asked what message he wants to leave for others, Carlo smiles and says, "If you ever hear a voice deep inside telling you to sing, sing." Even if no one listens at first, sing anyway. One day, the world will stop and hear you. As the screen fades out, the last scene shows Carlo walking by the ocean again, just like in the beginning, but this time, he's not alone. He's surrounded by children, all singing the same melody he once hummed in the rain. And in the distance, the sound of applause echoes softly, because the boy from the slums who sang his pain had turned it into a song the whole world would never forget.